Welcome to Trade Talk Thursday, episode number 4 for August 26th to September 2nd, 2021. For those of you who are new to this series, we will be breaking down the biggest trade rumors of this week and moves that we could potentially see happening over the next 7 days or so. Today, our topics will focus on Jake DeBrusk for Tomas Hertl, the Carolina-Montreal RFA fiasco, and 4 potential trade targets for the Montreal Canadiens. All that coming up next. Also, if you do enjoy this video, make sure to go down below, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and turn on that post notification bell to never miss these uploads. And just a quick disclaimer, all of these topics are simply for educational purposes. These are all rumors, so they are possible, but they very well could not happen too. But anyways, let's get into this. Jake DeBrusk for Tomas Hertl. With many recent reports coming out that Tomas Hertl is not happy with the San Jose Sharks organization and how they have handled the Evander Kane situation, it seems like Hertl may be on his way out. San Jose finished 6th last or 26th place in the NHL last season and need to probably start focusing on bringing in some younger pieces to potentially help spark a rebuild in the organization. The Sharks would be unwise to try and engage in any contract talks with their 27-year-old center, as Tomas Hertl has made it clear that he is looking for a change of scenery. On the other end of this trade, the Boston Bruins have a decent-sized gap to fill at their number 2 center position after losing longtime Boston Bruin David Krejci to returning to home in the Czech Republic. From the sounds of it, Charlie Coyle is going to be given the opportunity to fill that 2C role, and the Bruins would likely love to have to go out and maybe look for a number 3 to 4 center instead of a number 2 center on the trade market. Unfortunately, Coyle hasn't been very consistent with his play and point production over the past few seasons and probably won't be able to fill the 2C role that the Bruins need for the upcoming season. Another name that has circled Boston trade rumors for a long time now is 24-year-old left winger Jake DeBrusk. DeBrusk's NHL point production has dipped every year since he entered the league back in 2017/18, but DeBrusk can definitely play a top 6 winger role when he is performing at his highest capacity. A straight-up 1-for-1 move seems unlikely, but if Don Sweeney can get the Sharks to retain about $1 million of Tomas Hertl's $5.625 million a year cap hit, the Bruins could also give up a pick and DeBrusk for a $4 million 1-year remaining Tomas Hertl. But let me know what you think about a potential Jake DeBrusk Tomas Hertl trade in the comments below, and if you have any mock trades, I want to hear it down there. Next up, we have the Carolina-Montreal restricted free agent fiasco. So on Saturday, August 28th, 2021, the Carolina Hurricanes offer sheeted 21-year-old Montreal Canadiens center Jesperi Kotkaniemi to a 1-year, $6.1 million a year contract with a $20 signing bonus. For those of you who don't understand the magnitude and the amount of implications going on in this situation, let me break it down for you to help you better to understand it all. In the 2019 offseason, Carolina's 2015 35th overall pick, Sebastian Aho, and the number 1 center for the Hurricanes at the time and currently, signed a 5-year, $42.27 million deal as the Montreal Canadiens offer sheeted him with an average annual value of $8.454 million a year. Carolina matched the offer after the Canadiens had reached out to the RFA, but now this has come full circle and the Hurricanes have offer sheeted the Canadiens' youngest center. So when I first saw this story come out, my original thought was that the Carolina Hurricanes were just trolling the Montreal Canadiens. That $20 signing bonus is very funny because Sebastian Aho wears number 20 for the Carolina Hurricanes. But breaking down this story further, many analysts have said that the Hurricanes truly like Jesperi Kotkaniemi And when you look at their roster, they are Team Finland in the NHL. They have many Finnish players and some really good top-end Finnish players too, along the lines of Sebastian Aho, Teuvo Teravainen, and a few other big names in there. Another implication of the Kotkaniemi offer sheet is that the Hurricanes, since they're truly interested in him, discussed with Kotkaniemi what a potential future contract would look like long-term after this one-year deal is up. But at $6.1 million, the Montreal Canadiens are unlikely to match this offer, simply because Kotkaniemi is not worth $6.1 million. He was only on pace for about 30 points throughout a regular 82-game season, and he should probably be coming in around the $2.5 to $3 million range if this was a regular contract offer instead of a offer sheet. And of course, back in 2019, Sebastian Aho was absolutely worth the $8.45 million a year deal that the Canadiens threw out as an offer sheet. But this time, Kotkaniemi, I honestly don't think is worth the money. So it is more likely that the Montreal Canadiens take the compensation in a first and third round pick and decide to either walk away with that or trade that for another piece to fill the gap that Kotkaniemi is going to leave. But this could also change how RFA status is handled for the future. Back in 2019, when Austin Matthews was offered his massive extension, the reason that was offered was because the Toronto Maple Leafs were certain that if Matthews got to restricted free agency, he would be getting a maxed 7-year offer from the Coyotes, as that is his hometown. Lots of people would love to see him come there. But again, if a threat is real, the teams have to assess it and break down those situations as they feel appropriate. And of course, this whole situation leaves Montreal in a really tight space, as Marc Bergevin is going to have to make a couple moves quicker than the Canadiens would deem quote-unquote comfortable. But let me know what you think about the Montreal-Carolina situation, and what do you think Montreal will do over the next week or so in the comments below. And our final story for today's episode is 4 potential targets that the Canadiens could pursue moving forward. So this leads in really well from our last story in Trade Talk Thursday, and looking at the Canadiens and the RFA compensation that they could get for Kotkaniemi from Carolina, Montreal and Marc Bergevin are now out on the hunt for potentially a new addition to their lineup. Preferably, the Canadiens would be looking to bring in a number 2 kind of center, as Nick Suzuki has proven himself as a top end center in the league to help strengthen their, all-round top 6 as a team. But another winger probably wouldn't hurt their forward core either. And with these 4 potential trade targets, 2 of these names seem likely and possible to be suiting up as Habs for the next season. The other 2 seem unlikely, but would be blockbuster moves if they do happen. So let's explore the less likely options first. So the first option for the Montreal Canadiens is Elias Pettersson. So Vancouver's 22-year-old dynamic Swede still currently sits as a restricted free agent. The Canucks are looking to re-sign their number 1 center, although talks haven't advanced as quickly as some Vancouver fans would like. This seems like the least likely option out of the 4 players, simply because the Canadiens would have to make some big moves and maneuver around a lot of cap space in that $9 to $10 million range just to sign Petey to an offer sheet that the Canucks would struggle to match. I personally don't think this one would go through, but if it does, it would be a headliner story for the offseason if Montreal chooses to take this route. The second player, and again a pretty unlikely option for the Canadiens, is Jack Eichel. Although most of you have heard this story 1,000 times, Eichel wants out of Buffalo and they won't let him have the herniated disc surgery, and really it's all just been a mess. In the earlier days of the Eichel trade talks, Montreal was reported to be in on the Sabres star, but they were lowballing Buffalo with their offers and the Sabres just weren't having it. Dynamics between Montreal and Eichel may have improved after Eichel signed with his new agent Pat Brisson, who is quite close with Canadiens GM Marc Bergevin. But the main reason why this seems like an unlikely and extremely trade is because Jesperi Kotkaniemi was likely going to be one of the larger pieces in any Eichel-Montreal trade scenario. Now, even if Montreal does match Kotkaniemi, they cannot trade him for an entire calendar year, which makes this trade scenario almost impossible as well. Moving on to the third player on this list, we have Tomas Hertl, who we just discussed about possibly going to Boston. And of course, we also discussed Tomas Hertl last week on Trade Talk Thursday. Go check out that episode if you haven't, it'll be in the top corner of the screen. But reports have been surfacing that, again, Tomas Hertl is not happy with the Sharks organization and the handling of the Evander Kane drama. Hertl wants out, and it seemed like Dallas was likely to be in on the Sharks' 27-year-old center, but after everything that has gone down in Montreal, Hertl could potentially find a new home with the Canadiens, and at just a $5.625 million cap hit, this move seems more likely to be pulled off by Bergevin over the next week or so. And finally, for the most likely trade target that the Canadiens could bring in, we have Christian Dvorak of the Arizona Coyotes. And Dvorak, whose name has come up surrounding teams like Boston over the past few months, could now potentially be on his way to Montreal. And the Canadiens seem to be really high on this guy. Dvorak can play the left wing as well as down the middle, which really fits Montreal's forward lineup philosophy as far as being able to play everywhere on the ice. If you ask any hockey analyst, they would tell you, quote, Dvorak is a really good and underrated player, end quote. The other thing that does not lack in Dvorak's game is his grit and tenacity as a forward. Personally, I think Christian Dvorak would be a great fit into the Canadiens lineup and the culture, and could also gain him some more recognition for how good a hockey player he truly is. Dvorak currently has 4 years remaining on his current deal with the Arizona Coyotes at a $4.45 million a year cap hit. But with the Coyotes supposedly tanking with all the moves they have made this offseason, I would not be surprised if they move Dvorak for a couple of picks and maybe a prospect in the upcoming week. But let me know who you would like to see the Canadiens pursue if they choose not to match Jesperi Kotkaniemi and decide to take Carolina's picks instead. And again, if you did enjoy this video or made it to the end, make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and turn on post notifications to never miss these uploads. And until next time.